Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got a good job on today. I'm going to be changing the boot off a Subaru Impreza. It's a 2004 wagon. It's a WRX Blobeye. And here's the boot. Well, there's the car, stopping the drive there. So we'll be changing the boot because it's got a bit of ripple, bit of damage on the top of it. Nothing too serious, but it's you can see it's sort of slightly warped there, and it has been painted previously, but to get it perfect, it's gonna cost a bit of money, so it's actually cheaper to get a replacement. So here's the replacement. This is actually off the 2007, I think it's the Hawkeye wagon. Boot's exactly the same, but the badges are slightly different, be it the symbol, not the writing in Subaru. But it fits, it's a direct replacement. Same paint code. The black ones have two different paint codes, so keep an eye on that if you're changing them on the black one. I can't remember, I think it's 18 something and the other one's 32. But same paint code, so good. Yeah, all we need to excuse me, what I've done so far is I've just stripped the boot out at the back, so I've peeled all these the fabric away in the foam here. They're just simply clipped on around the edges here at the top. Dead simple to do. And same with these ones that go around the edges here. These are the clips on the inside, so the first three come downwards. Just be mindful because they are plastic, you don't want them to snap because it'll be a pain. I don't know if you'll be able to find one of these to replace. It should be quite good to get parts for these cars. So yeah, just pull them sort of away, and then there's another, how many we got up there? There's another two. They're in a slightly different direction, so downwards that way to the from left to right. So just be mindful of that. Got some cabling. Well, it's got the hose here for the windscreen wash and another cable there, and then we've got these cables here that need to be removed. Of course, they're going into this part here. So how I'm going to attack this is I'm going to take the cable out first. So of course, here's the bung for that. They run down the pillar and then they end up down the bottom here. So I'm going to remove the cables, tie a bit of string to the old cable here, and then pull it through. So when you get the new cable, you tie that same piece of string to the new cable, and you'll be able to pull it down the pillar, because if you don't do that, that's going to be a pain. So I'll get those out first, because they should be, now these are away, they're quite easily accessible. I'll then remove the bolts, which are, as you can see here, I'm going to remove them on the hinge side rather than the actual boot side, sorry, the car side rather than the boot side, because on the new one, that's where they've been removed. And to get to those, simply peel back the roof liner very slightly, and underneath you'll see there you've got the nuts on the thread, so they'll remove quite easily. And then of course the struts will removed, and then the whole thing should lift away nicely. What I'm going to do, I think I'm going to mark a little bit around here with some white pen or something like that, or some Tipex perhaps, just to know I know. I don't know if these have got locators in them to line them up, so that'll help just to line it all back up again afterwards. But yeah, that's it. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So we'll give it a go, see what happens. Okay, so all I've done so far is just disconnected the cables there and the washer hose. I've actually cut the hose here, just in the centre, because the other one's been cut on there. I can just put a little plastic connection between the two, and that'll be absolutely fine. You can do it from this side, but it means removing all that and then feeding it through here and disconnect it from the bung there. So a bit more fiddly, and the way I'm disconnecting it, it's going to work easy for me. Let's put that back in there. Same with this side. I noticed the cables don't actually run inside the pillar, they run just down the back of it, which I didn't notice before, but they just pull them out, so no need to use string to guide them through. They should be able to go back quite easily. So that's those disconnected, and those ones. So then I'll undo these and then start getting the boot actually off. Yeah, pretty straightforward so far. One thing to note as well is be mindful of the actual connections are the same before you start removing it fully. I've checked mine prior and it is fine, but last thing you want is taking it all apart and notice the wires don't actually match up. Also, while everything's off, getting down all these cracks, all these are peeled back, you can get down in the cracks and the crevices and see if there's any issues like rust and stuff. I know these Subarus are bad for rusting, especially on the back end, the shock towers, the arches. Even these storm seals here, just peel them off, have a look underneath. Mine aren't too bad, there's a bit of rust on these ones, but I'm going to address that. But yeah, it's a good opportunity to have a good look and address any rust while you can, with any car as well, really. I'm going to start by removing the struts, or one anyway, just on one side for now. but I'm using a 12mm spanner, and the nut is just on the outside there. Just popping it on and removing it like that. Dead simple. Same with both sides. It's up to you which side you want to take off. It's the same anyway, but I'm going to remove it from the car side, because on the new one the struts on that. Sorry, that wasn't even into shot. The new one, the struts are on that, so I'm going to remove them from the car side, keep the struts on the boot, and then I can use the new ones and then swap and change if needs be. Okay, so struts are off. Quite easy, came off nicely. Boot is now suspended by a bit of wood. I've loosened off the hinges, and I've also marked them with a little bit of Tipp-Ex there, just to make it easier, slightly bit easier when lining the new boot up. But that so far is it. So what I need to do now is remove them, and the whole thing will come away. Very, very simple. This part is probably a two-man job, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So we'll see. Alright, so the best way to do this, what I found, whether you're doing it a single person or a two-person lift, close the boot. What I've done is put a bit of wood into the actual lock so it doesn't lock the boot, just wedges it, and then take the bolts out from the inside of the car, because the boot there sits nicely in the hatch and it doesn't move. So all I need to do now is quite simply lift it away. Now, it's not massively heavy, depends on the car. On these Subaru, it's not actually that heavy, so it's an easy lift, but this is the safest way to do it. So just close it, take the bolts out from the inside, and then lift it away, and then put the new one in place, and then do it from in reverse. Definitely the best way to do it. And that is done. Very, very simple. On my own, quite easily lifted that away. So all we've got to do now is hope that it doesn't rain, which is blue sky, so we're good. But this is now a good opportunity to give it a good clean around the edges there, check all the bits here, all the dirt, give it a good old spruce up. And I'm going to take this seal off now, and I'm going to give it a good clean underneath. So we'll get that done, and then we're going to put the boot, the new one, back on, simply in reverse order. So that's the seal off, giving it a clean around the edges here, and actually mine's not too bad at all. A couple of little rust points there, nothing serious. So I'm going to get some black hammerite on that just to sort of seal it, because it's hidden under there anyway, so it doesn't need to be perfect, but it will stop the rust in its path. But apart from that, it's very, very good, very, very solid. So quite lucky. I've certainly seen a lot worse with those. So that's all that's sorted. So I've just gone around, wire brush, nice bit of hammerite around the end there, sealed the rust and stopped it in its tracks. So hopefully that won't get any worse, but it's easy enough to peel back and check every so often, so jobs are good. And then so the new boot is now in place. It's looking good. A bit fiddly to get on, but again, putting it back flat, laying in the hatch, makes it a lot easier. Lining up the holes, yeah, always if you've got help. And then I'll put them in loosely. So the idea being, as you can see, the bolts are in, but they're in loose at the moment. The struts are on again loose. What I'm going to do is put the wires in, and then I'm going to close the boot, shut it on the lock there, and what it'll do, it'll centralize it quite well, or should centralize it as best as possible, and then tighten up the bolts from the inside, and that way it should be a bit better. So then pretty much there now, give it a good clean afterwards. It's also got some tint on it which I don't really like, so I need to take that off. But yeah, pretty straightforward, good job. Okay, so that's all the cables in, the struts are all in nice and tight, bungs are back in, all fed in there nice and proper. That's it, that light's come on, so we're going to check all the electrics and make sure we're working. So that one's working. So all I need to do now, remove him, shut the boot, and then tighten up those hinges from the inside. Okay, boot is now opening and closing. Should, bit creaky, but that's fine. So now all I just want to do is make sure the gaps around the edges are the same distance. This is generally okay, to be fair, but I'll get a coin or something just to measure them to make sure they're all fine. I think this one's slightly bigger, so get it all measured up and then tighten it all up. That's it, jobs are good. And so now the struts are in tight, the hinges are all nice and tight, not wobbling around, shuts nicely, opens nicely. So now all you do, just make sure all the wires are working. Of course, the third brake light the central locking, things like that. So I'll get that tested in a minute. But yeah, job's a good one. Pretty straightforward job, to be fair. Bit fiddly, be easier with two, but doable with one. And that's it. Simple as that. And that goes for most cars with the cable running around the sides, but some cars, of course, will be different. But generally, that's how you do it. Very straightforward, very simple. Thank you for watching.